Stop lying to yourself for 1 second. How many days this year did you wake up swearing today is different only for tiredness, doubt, anger, boredom, or straight-up fear to show up like an old friend and quietly murder every intention you had? One feeling. One moment of weakness. And suddenly another week, another month, another year slips through your fingers. Stoicism doesn't hold your hand through this truth. Follow your plan with merciless discipline. Or let your feelings slowly, methodically, and completely ruin the life you keep saying you want. Welcome back to The Growth Dose, the one place on YouTube that won't pat you on the back while your potential rots inside you. We call it straight. We go deep. And today we're diving into one of the most uncomfortable, most liberating, most life-altering truths ever written in the history of human thought: your feelings are not your compass. They are your greatest enemy in disguise. Close your eyes for a second and see this. You stand alone on a jagged cliff at first light. A freezing wind whips across your face. Below you, an endless black ocean of emotion roars, waves of terror crashing, tides of desire pulling, storms of resentment building, whirlpools of comfort trying to drag you over the edge. But right in front of you, carved straight through the chaos, runs a single narrow path of solid stone: your plan. Built in the quiet hours when you were clear-headed, when you remembered who you swore you'd become, when you wrote down the man or woman you refused to betray. Marcus Aurelius sat on the throne of the Roman Empire while plague decimated his people, generals betrayed him, and death stalked his own body, yet he never once let the storm inside rewrite his duty. Epictetus was born property, his leg deliberately broken by a cruel master, yet he turned every chain into a classroom of inner freedom. Seneca faced exile, disgrace, and finally a forced suicide ordered by a mad emperor, and he met it all with calm words of wisdom until his last breath. These were not emotionless robots. These were men who felt everything: rage, grief, fear, longing, and still chose their plan over every single wave that tried to drown them. If you are sick to death of waking up motivated and going to bed disappointed, if you're ready to stop being a hostage to your own biochemistry, if you want to finally become the version of yourself that doesn't fold when life gets real, then lock in. The next half hour might be the most important investment you make in your entire life. Right this second, inside your own skull, a war is raging and you are both the battlefield and the only general who can win it. One side is small, quiet, outnumbered, but unbreakable: your plan. It's the collection of promises you made when you were calm, when you could see 5 years ahead, when you remembered the man or woman you promised yourself you'd become. It's the morning routine you designed, the boundaries you set, the goals you wrote in ink, the virtues you swore to defend. On the other side is a relentless, screaming horde, every emotion that floods your system the moment reality tests you. Tiredness begs for 5 more minutes in bed. Doubt whispers you're a fraud. Anger demands you lash out. Desire pulls you toward instant pleasure. Fear freezes you in place. These feelings arrive like lightning, sudden, electric, convincing. They feel like truth in the moment. They feel urgent. They feel like they should be obeyed immediately. But Marcus Aurelius, riding in his tent while barbarian armies closed in and plague swept through Rome, saw straight through the illusion: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Feelings are not commands. But Marcus Aurelius, riding in his tent while barbarian armies closed in and plague swept through Rome, saw straight through the illusion: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Feelings are not commands. They are weather. Sometimes a light breeze, sometimes a hurricane, but weather never decides the destination. Only the captain who holds the course through the storm reaches the harbor. Now be brutally honest with yourself. Think back over the last 90 days. How many times did one single emotion derail an entire week? A lazy morning that became a lost month. A flash of anger that burned a bridge you spent years building. A moment of envy that turned into self-sabotage. A craving that cost you money, health, or dignity. Add up the real price, not in vague guilt, but in concrete terms: lost time, damaged relationships, eroded self-trust, missed opportunities you'll never get back. That is the true cost of surrendering this war day after day. We've all been fed the same romantic poison since we were children: follow your heart and you'll never go wrong. Trust your gut. Do what feels right. Society, movies, songs, self-help gurus, they chant it like a sacred mantra. Stoicism walks in and dismantles the lie with surgical precision: your heart is not a compass. It is a wildly spinning needle caught in every emotional storm that passes through you. Epictetus, who was once a slave beaten so badly his leg was permanently crippled, gave us the eternal truth: people are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. That soul-crushing pain after a breakup or rejection. It's not the event, it's the instant story you tell yourself about what it means about your worth, your future, your lovability. That sudden rush to buy something you can't afford. It's not treating yourself, it's animal desire dressed up as self-care. That explosive anger that makes you send a message, quit a job, or cut someone off forever. It's not righteous justice, it's a temporary chemical wildfire burning through every rational filter you have. When you let feelings lead without the iron anchor of a deliberate, virtue-based plan, you become a puppet of your own nervous system. You react instead of respond. You chase highs and flee lows like every other animal. But the second you build a clear plan rooted in courage, discipline, wisdom, and justice, and train yourself to treat emotions as raw data, never as dictators, you step into a level of freedom most people never even glimpse. True freedom isn't doing whatever you feel like in the moment. True freedom is doing what your highest self demands, even when your entire body and mind are screaming at you to do the opposite. A true Stoic plan is not a productivity app checklist or a cute vision board. It is a sacred constitution for your character, a fortress deliberately constructed to withstand every assault emotion can launch against it. The greatest Stoics left us the exact blueprint: start by clearly defining your 4 cardinal virtues: courage, facing fear head-on; discipline, outlasting discomfort; wisdom, seeing things as they truly are; justice, acting rightly toward others and yourself. And swear an oath, in writing if possible, that nothing will ever make you abandon these pillars. Next, draft your iron laws, non-negotiable rules etched so deeply they become part of your identity. I will never make important decisions while angry or euphoric. I will never quit on a goal simply because I feel tired or unmotivated. I will never speak words I cannot stand behind even if resentment is driving me. I will never trade long-term dignity for short-term pleasure. Then build daily rituals that act as automatic armor. Wake at the same hour and begin with a 5-minute preview of the day's potential battles. Always attack the hardest task first while willpower is at its peak. Close every night with a merciless self-examination asking, did I live today as the person I respect? Finally, practice premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, as Seneca and Marcus Aurelius did religiously. Sit in silence and deliberately visualize every possible setback, humiliation, temptation, betrayal, illness, or emotional ambush so that when it arrives in real life, it feels familiar instead of devastating. Seneca lived this under constant threat, banished by one emperor, recalled only to serve a worse one, eventually ordered to take his own life, yet he continued writing, teaching, and dying with perfect composure because his plan had already survived every imagined disaster in his mind. Your plan must weigh more than your heaviest emotion. It must be the gravity that pulls you back to center when every feeling tries to launch you into chaos. If your plan collapses the instant discomfort shows up, it was never a plan, it was a hopeful fantasy wearing a thin layer of intention. Here is the single most powerful and most misunderstood insight in all of Stoic philosophy: the wise never try to kill emotion. They never numb themselves. They never pretend they don't feel. Instead, they demote emotion from tyrant to humble messenger. Anger explodes in your chest, message received, something you deeply value feels threatened or violated. Fear clamps down on your throat, message received, potential danger lies ahead, whether real or imagined. Desire floods you with heat and urgency, message received, this thing appears valuable, evaluate carefully. The Stoic does not panic, suppress, or obey blindly. He pauses, breathes, and responds with quiet authority. Thank you for the signal. Now let me run it through the filter of reason, virtue, and my long-term plan. Epictetus put it in words that still cut like a blade: it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Train this reflex daily and you develop an almost superhuman ability. You can feel the full spectrum of human emotion. The rage that makes your blood boil, the grief that hollows your chest, the ecstasy that lifts you, the longing that aches, and yet remain the sovereign who decides what action follows. You stop being a helpless passenger inside your own nervous system. You become the calm emperor of an inner empire where feelings are heard, respected, but never allowed to rule. Look at the historical record and the truth becomes undeniable. This is not abstract theory. It is battle-tested in the worst conditions humanity can throw at a person. Marcus Aurelius lost multiple children in infancy, buried a beloved wife far too young, discovered his most trusted general had betrayed him in open rebellion, watched the greatest city in the world ravaged by plague while he himself grew weaker every day from illness. At any point he could have surrendered to despair, raged at the gods, abandoned his duties, drowned in bitterness and self-pity. Instead he wrote in his private journal, words meant for no eyes but his own: at dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work, as a human being. And he rose. Every single morning. Through grief, betrayal, sickness, and war. Because his plan, to live with virtue in every remaining moment, was stronger than any feeling that tried to bury him. Seneca was exiled by one emperor, recalled only to serve a worse one, Nero. And eventually received the order to end his own life. He did not panic. Through grief, betrayal, sickness, and war. Because his plan, to live with virtue in every remaining moment, was stronger than any feeling that tried to bury him. Seneca was exiled by one emperor, recalled only to serve a worse one, Nero, and eventually received the order to end his own life. He did not panic. He did not curse fate. He did not rage against the unfairness. He calmly gathered his friends, spoke final words of wisdom, embraced his weeping wife, opened his veins, and died as a philosopher to the very last breath. Epictetus, born a slave, tortured until his leg was ruined for life, later freed, taught that true freedom exists only inside the mind, and he lived it every day. These men were not born without emotion. They were not superhuman. They simply made the choice most of us refuse to make. They remained more loyal to their plan than to their pain, more committed to their principles than to their feelings. You don't need inspiration. You need weapons, practical, repeatable, daily Stoic tools that turn philosophy into muscle memory. Here are the ones that actually work. Start every evening or first thing in the morning with the morning decree. Write one single powerful sentence: today, no matter what I feel, I will. Then train the pause and label reflex. The instant any strong emotion surges, say it out loud or in your head: this is anger speaking. This is fear wearing a mask. This is laziness trying to negotiate. Naming it strips away half its power immediately. Close every single day with the evening audit. Sit quietly and ask 3 brutal questions. Where did I follow my plan today? Where did feeling win and why? What small adjustment will I make tomorrow to win that battle next time? Add voluntary discomfort daily: cold showers, fasting from comforts, saying no to easy pleasures, to train your mind that discomfort is not danger. Practice the 5-minute rule. When procrastination hits, commit to just 5 minutes of the hard task. Momentum almost always takes over. Use the 24-hour rule for anger. Never respond to anything emotional until at least a full day has passed. These are not optional, nice-to-haves. They are the daily drills that separate those who talk about Stoicism from those who live it. Let's name the enemies you face most often, and give you the exact Stoic escape routes: procrastination, fear disguised as "I'm not ready yet" / "I need more motivation." Escape, use the 5-minute rule and force start. Momentum kills paralysis. Explosive anger, justice wearing a red mask of rage. Escape, mandatory 24-hour delay on every angry response, almost every fire dies without oxygen. Envy. Pain at someone else's gain. Escape, immediately reframe it into study, what can I learn from their success, instead of, why them and not me? Instant gratification, desire pretending to be urgency. Escape, force the question, will this matter in 5 years, and watch 90% of impulses collapse. Self-doubt, insecurity wearing the mask of realism. Escape, remind yourself, I am not my thoughts, I am the observer of my thoughts, then act anyway. Overwhelm, too many tasks creating paralysis. Escape, pick one thing, do it fully, then move to the next. Stoics call this, one thing at a time. Every single trap has a built-in Stoic countermeasure. Your job is to memorize the escape route so well that they become automatic. No great warrior wins every battle alone, and the Stoics knew this better than anyone. Epictetus ran a school. Seneca wrote hundreds of letters to friends. Marcus Aurelius kept a circle of philosophers close. They understood that isolation is where feelings win their easiest victories. Build your own tribe deliberately. Find online communities, close friends, mentors, or even just the dead philosophers through their books who will remind you of your plan when your own voice is weak. One honest message from someone who truly gets Stoic discipline can pull you back from the edge faster than any motivational video. Protect your circle fiercely. Feed it with your own honesty. Lean on it without shame when you must. Because when feelings scream loudest, a single ally who sees your higher self can be the difference between collapse and comeback. Stop measuring progress by how you feel, feelings lie constantly. Measure it by what you do, fewer impulsive decisions you later regret, more days where you finish what you said you would start, calmer responses when chaos erupts around you, deeper peace even when life refuses to cooperate. Notice the small proofs. You no longer explode at small things, you no longer abandon goals because you're not in the mood, you no longer let envy poison your gratitude. When the gap between who you want to be and who you actually are starts shrinking, when regret becomes rare and self-respect becomes your default, when you can look in the mirror at the end of a hard day and know you didn't betray yourself, that is the real victory. That is the evidence you've stopped being a slave to passing weather and started living as a sovereign. Follow your plan long enough, through the boring days, the painful days, the invisible days when no one is watching, and something extraordinary begins to happen. You stop living at the mercy of the moment. You stop waking up a prisoner of mood. You start waking up as the person you always claimed you would become. Relationships deepen because you respond with wisdom instead of reaction. Work becomes meaningful because you do it from principle, not circumstance. Inner peace becomes your baseline instead of a rare visitor. This is not the fragile, candy-coated happiness sold by influencers. This is eudaimonia, the flourishing the Stoics pursued for a lifetime. A life of quiet, unshakable power. A life where feelings are felt fully but never allowed to rule. A life no passing storm can ever ruin again. That life is not reserved for emperors or philosophers. It is available to anyone willing to choose their plan over their feelings, every single day, until the choice becomes who they are. So here is the question I want burning in your mind tonight, tomorrow morning, and every day after. If you woke up tomorrow and made the unbreakable decision, once and for all, that your plan would always defeat your feelings, what version of your life would you finally have the courage to create? If this hit you deep, if you feel the fire starting, do 3 things right now. Smash that like button so the algorithm knows this matters. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so we never miss a dose of real growth. Drop a comment below and tell me, what is the one feeling that's been ruining your plans the most lately, and what is the first small step you're taking tomorrow to fight back? I read every single comment. Let's build this together. Stay strong. See you in the next one.